From the stained glass windows of cathedrals to the protective sigils of ritual magicians, the names of the archangels echo through both sacred tradition and personal longing. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. But to treat them simply as celestial beings with wings, swords, and flowing robes is to misunderstand the deeper mystery, because these names do not merely point to supernatural agents in heaven. They form a hidden map, a coded architecture of consciousness, a living anatomy of the soul. So how can one unlock the deeper secrets that the map has held for so long? The answer lies in decoding the symbols that they hold. So before we can explore what the archangels represent, we must first ask, why do such symbols endure? Symbols are not merely decorative images or religious metaphors. They are technologies of consciousness. They are carriers of ancient memory, subtle energy, and spiritual transmission. In the mystical traditions of the East and West, symbols serve as bridges between the seen and unseen. They encode realities too vast for language, too subtle for doctrine. The pentacle, the tree of life, the lotus, the cross, all are more than art. They are sacred diagrams. They are blueprints of the soul. The archangels, too, are such symbols. The archangels were never intended to be worshipped externally, but rather to be mapped within the inner essence of the soul. This perspective invites us to explore the divine qualities they embody, aspects of our own consciousness, urging us to cultivate these energies internally. By recognizing the archangels as guides for self-discovery and transformation, we shift from external worship to a deeply personal journey of inner awakening. Therefore, this becomes the forbidden claim. The four archangels are not separate entities, but components of a single divine pattern, a pattern that is replicated in mysticism, ritual magic, alchemy, and depth psychology. They are the fundamental pillars of an inner temple. Together, they form the tetragrammaton of spiritual transformation. In the modern age, we invoke them in rituals, wear them on jewelry, or reference them in art. But rarely do we understand what they really are, and more importantly, what they are inside of us. Before we go that far, let's first ask, what are their origin stories? The two most prominent archangels in the Hebrew Bible and New Testament are Michael and Gabriel. Michael first appears in Daniel circa 2nd century BCE as one of the chief princes, a heavenly protector engaged in cosmic conflict. In the New Testament, he contests with Satan over Moses' body, portraying him as a divine warrior and Israel's advocate. Jewish mystical traditions later elevate Michael as commander of God's hosts and high priest in celestial realms. Gabriel appears in Daniel as a divine interpreter of visions. In the New Testament, he announces the births of John the Baptist and Jesus, cementing his role as God's messenger. Raphael and Uriel, on the other hand, do not appear in canonical Jewish scripture, but emerge in intertestamental and extra-canonical texts, bringing depth to the celestial hierarchy. Raphael enters the story in the Book of Tobit in the 3rd to 2nd century BCE, guiding Tobias and exorcising demonic forces. In Tobit 12 verse 15, he reveals himself as one of the 7 angels who stand ready and enter before the glory of God. He also appears in early strands of 1 Enoch as one of the 4 or 7 archangels, tasked with healing and guidance. Uriel emerges most vividly in 1 Enoch, warning Noah of the impending flood and guiding Enoch through heavenly mysteries like astronomical wisdom in the Astronomical Book. In 2 Esdras, also known as 4 Ezra, Uriel is tasked by God to answer Ezra's pressing questions about suffering, justice, and prophecies. This progression from an unnamed messenger to a named angelic to a cosmic archetype marks the beginnings of a deeper structure beneath the surface of myth. Uriel embodies a potent and dangerous knowledge that challenges the established order. This suggests that his insights into wisdom and illumination were deemed too radical for the Church, who erased him from further texts. His disappearance from the traditional hierarchy of angels reflects a fear of the transformative power he represents. His teachings encourage individuals to seek enlightenment and autonomy, rather than blind obedience. By reclaiming Uriel's presence, we confront the supposed truths of our own potential, awakening a deeper understanding of the divine that lies within us all. While early texts feature archangels independently, several traditions consolidate them into groups, gesturing toward a wholeness later ritualized. The Book of Enoch, especially its older sections dated 3rd to 2nd century BCE, presents multiple archangels together: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, acting cooperatively in the judgment and guidance of divine matters. 2 Esdras names Uriel explicitly as an archangel, among rare mythical instances, reinforcing his elevated rank. In Life of Adam and Eve, in Apocalypse of Moses, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael prepare Adam's body for burial. Joel, a 5th, sings the Trision, signaling early grouping of archangels in ritual contexts. So how did the symbols of these archangels evolve? Within evolving Kabbalistic tradition, especially as outlined in Sefer Yetzirah and the Zohar, archangels are mapped to Sephirot, divine energies and elemental forces. Raphael aligns with healing energy and is often linked to Tiferet or Malkuth. Michael corresponds to Chesed and to loving kindness or divine will. Gabriel is associated with judgment or emotional power, which links him to Gevurah. Uriel embodies wisdom and grounded insight, tying him to Tiferet or Yesod. In esoteric systems, especially within Hermetic Kabbalah, Christian mysticism, and theurgy, the 4 archangels are more than names on scrolls. They are forces of balance, guardians of gateways, embodiments of elemental energies. To the casual observer, they are heavenly messengers. To the initiate, they are pillars of initiation. In every sacred system there is a pattern of 4 elements, 4 directions, 4 worlds, 4 winds. The archangels are not coincidentally 4. They are the personification of the sacred invocation. So the question is not, who are they? The question is, what inner structure are they revealing? Many tried to create a uniform system to unify the ritual. As Western esoteric traditions matured, archangels moved from symbolic archetypes into ritual architecture, fixed into direction, element, and invocation. First of these is the Heptameron and medieval angelology, attributed to Pietro di Abano in the 13th century. The Heptameron lists angels presiding over planetary hours and directions, using a layered angelic schema in ritual contexts. While it doesn't fix a singular schematic for the 4 archangels, it contributed to grouping archangels into spatially oriented ritual functions. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa in the 16th century proposed several arrangements: Michael as fire east, Raphael as air west, Gabriel as water north, and Uriel as earth south. Athanasius Kircher, by contrast, had Michael as water east, Raphael as earth west, Uriel as fire south, and Gabriel as air north. The lack of a uniform system suggests a symbolic flexibility, yet a clear intent to lock archangels into directional grids. Today's most influential schema arises from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, from the late 19th to early 20th century. The schematic anchors them into the ritual direction, element, and mystical attribute triad, making them components of an energized sacred space. But before uncovering their hidden integration, we must first examine their surface myths. Michael is the warrior, the protector, the one who casts down the dragon. His name means "who is like God." He is associated with the element of fire, the direction south, the color red, and the spiritual will. He holds the sword of divine judgment and is invoked in spiritual warfare. Gabriel is the messenger, the bringer of divine word. His name means "God is my strength," associated with the element of water, the direction west, and the moon. Gabriel appears in dreams and visions, guiding prophets and seekers. He carries the horn of proclamation. Raphael is the healer, the companion on the road. His name means "God heals." Tied to the element of the air, the direction east, and the intellect, Raphael heals not just the body, but the soul. He is the patron of science, medicine, and guidance. Uriel is the light of wisdom, the hidden flame. His name means "God is my light," associated with earth, the direction north, and the inner eye. Uriel is the keeper of secrets, the angel of insight, apocalypse, and alchemical revelation. These four together make up the ritual cross found in ceremonial magic. In the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, practitioners recite, "Before me, Raphael. Behind me, Gabriel. On my right hand, Michael. On my left hand, Uriel." But why this order? Because it encodes something deeper than protection. It encodes psycho-spiritual anatomy. The cross is not only a gesture of banishment, it is a symbolic activation of the inner temple. So how do the angels aid in this activation? In the esoteric traditions, the human being is a microcosm, or a miniature universe. And just as the universe is built on 4 elements, 4 directions, and 4 worlds, so too is the soul. Each archangel represents a quadrant of being. Michael, as the embodiment of fire, and the southern point, represents the inner force of courage and divine will. In his hand he bears a flaming sword, an image that cuts through illusion and fear. He is often seen as the defender of heaven, the warrior of righteousness, the bringer of divine judgment. Yet, within the self, Michael is not just a protector, but a transformer. His fire is the fire of transmutation, the fierce resolve to burn away falsehood and stand in truth. When this force is active in the psyche, the individual gains purpose, clarity, and integrity. But when unbalanced, this same energy can turn to dogmatism, control, or spiritual pride. Thus, to integrate Michael within is to claim one's power without becoming consumed by it. Gabriel, associated with the West and the elements of water, brings messages, visions, and emotional resonance. Traditionally the angel of declaration, Gabriel whispers divine guidance through dreams, symbols, and intuitions. In the psyche, Gabriel governs our emotional body, the tides of feeling, the sensitivity to others, and the capacity for empathy and reflection. Water flows, remembers, cleanses. Gabriel teaches us to receive, to feel deeply, and to listen, not just to others, but to the soul's inner call. But when Gabriel's energies are distorted, they may manifest as emotional overwhelm, illusion, or passive inertia. Integration of this force means learning to feel without drowning, to intuit without losing direction. Raphael stands in the east, associated with the rising sun and the element of air. As the healer of God, Raphael represents clarity, breath, thought, and the capacity for renewal. In the body, this is the nervous system and the respiratory system. In the mind, it is the intellect, not cold logic, but illuminated understanding. Raphael's presence in the psyche allows for healing through knowledge, through conscious reflection, and through insight. This is the energy of the healer, the guide, the teacher. It is the function within us that seeks order, learning, and wholeness. However, when the air of Raphael becomes excessive or blocked, it can produce detachment, dissociation, or overanalysis. Integration here means opening the mind to both reason and wisdom, combining thought with compassion. Uriel completes the quartet from the north, where the element of earth resides. The least discussed of the archangels in popular religious lore, Uriel is often depicted with a scroll or a flame, a quiet illuminator rather than a warrior or prophet. Earth is solidity, memory, time, and depth. Uriel governs the realm of ancestors, of karma, of embodied wisdom that comes not from reading or revelation, but from enduring. Within the self, Uriel is the anchor. He teaches patience, structure, boundaries, and groundedness. When out of balance, earth energy becomes stagnation, fear of change, or clinging to the material. To awaken Uriel is to develop the capacity to hold wisdom over time, to integrate the insights of the other elements into lived experience. Together, these four forces form a circle, a sacred space not just in magical ritual, but in the psyche. The person who aligns with all four archangels does not merely call down divine protection, they harmonize the elements within: fire, water, air, and earth. This inner temple is the true goal of magical and mystical work. It is what the Hermetic maxim, "as above, so below," points toward. The archangels do not just live in the heavens, they live in us. They are not beings to be worshipped, but patterns to be activated. From this perspective, the invocation of the four archangels becomes a map of self-realization. The East is where thought begins, the dawn of understanding. The South ignites the will, turning thought into action. The West reflects upon the action through feeling and emotional response. The North consolidates, grounds, and integrates the experience into wisdom. This is not theology. It is psychology rendered in symbolic form. The circle becomes a mirror of wholeness, and the initiate stands at its center. Importantly, each angel is not just a function, but a gateway. Michael's fire can be used to burn away the ego. Gabriel's water can baptize the soul in intuitive truth. Raphael's air can carry the breath of healing into broken places. Uriel's earth can hold the process, anchoring it in form. These are not fantasies, but subtle processes anyone can experience when they engage their inner life with intention. These four form the elemental cross, the fourfold pattern found in alchemy, astrology, and sacred architecture. But more than guardians of ritual space, they are metaphysical processes, forces that can be activated within the individual to restore harmony and coherence. They are also found in modern science, in the four Jungian functions: thinking, feeling, intuition, and sensation. And beyond that, they symbolize the stages of spiritual alchemy: calcination by Michael, dissolution by Gabriel, sublimation by Raphael, and coagulation by Uriel. They are not external agents, they are internal activations. What has been lost in modern spirituality is this: the archangels are not a hierarchy of beings, but a geometry. They are a living metaphysical architecture encoded across mystical systems. They reveal a sacred pattern. Raphael is the breath of dawn, the clarity before action. He represents the awakening of mental clarity and spiritual intention. Michael is the sacred will. After the mind awakens, the fire of action must be summoned. He burns away illusions, invoking courage and direction. Gabriel is the sacred feeling. After action comes reflection, depth, and receptivity. The waters cleanse, baptize, and integrate emotion. Uriel is the final gate. He is the integration of the work, the wisdom that comes after experience. He grounds insight into form. This is not a one-time journey. It is a spiritual circuit, a hermetic wheel that turns continuously in the life of the initiate. And at the center of this wheel, here's where the most important aspect lies. You, the soul, the spark of God. Each invocation of an archangel is an activation of a part of yourself. When you call Michael, you awaken your will. When you call Gabriel, you open the heart. When you summon Raphael, you clarify the mind. When you invoke Uriel, you embody divine light. This is not worship. This is alchemy. But, as with all sacred systems, time fragments what once was whole. As religion became externalized, the archangels were cast upward. They were seen only as external protectors or heavenly guardians. The Church praised Michael as a militant saint, painted Gabriel as a passive courier, and exiled Uriel from canon entirely. The fourfold pattern was lost. Even in New Age circles, the archangels are treated as spiritual customer service, summoned for parking spots or anxiety relief, rather than gateways to inner transfiguration. This dilution is not harmless. It robs the symbols of their sacred voltage. The names become ornamental. The rituals become hollow. Without inner understanding, the invocation of an archangel is like typing in a password with no connection to the system it was meant to unlock. But not all hope is lost. The original pattern still hums beneath the distortion. And once the initiate remembers that they are not summoning outside forces, but awakening inner archetypes, the temple begins to rebuild itself. But how can one rebuild this temple within themselves? In esoteric Christianity and Hermetic Kabbalah, the soul is a temple, and initiation is the process of lighting its four corners with divine flame. To build the temple within is to recognize the four archangels as living currents within your psycho-spiritual field. Michael guards your sacred fire. He awakens your courage, your integrity, your direction. Gabriel opens your intuitive self. He baptizes you in the emotional waters of rebirth. Raphael guides your breath and mind. He heals your fragmented thoughts and aligns your vision. Uriel plants your wisdom. He teaches you to hold the light in darkness, to walk through matter with grace. Each corner of your being must be sanctified, not as a one-time ritual, but as a daily orientation. This is the true ritual magic, not in tools or robes, but in inner awareness. When you align your will with divine thought and integrate your emotions within the body, you become the temple. You no longer need to seek angels. You are aligned with the angelic pattern. Now, a deeper mystery emerges. In the Kabbalistic tree of life, there are not 4 directions, but 10 spheres, and at the heart lies the Tiferet, the beauty, or the higher self. When the 4 are in harmony, the 5th appears. When the 4 are in harmony, the center becomes still. This center, what mystics call the inner sanctum, or the heart of the temple, is where spirit dwells. It is the eye of the storm, the unmoved mover. From this space, the individual no longer reacts blindly to inner impulses, but responds from presence. This is the true function of ritual, not to summon powers outside of us, but to remember the architecture already present within. This is the unspoken truth. The four archangels, when united, reveal a fifth presence. This fifth presence is the divine self, the Christ within, the Atman, the higher soul. This fifth is not another angel. It is you, not your ego, but your divine essence, awakened and seated at the center. The goal is not to depend on angels, but to become integrated, transfigured by their archetypes. The four archangels form the cross. You become the axis. We live in an age of disintegration, spirit separated from body, mind from heart, soul from action. And in this fragmentation, symbols become noise. The archangels appear on Instagram posts and healing ceremonies, yet their true mystery remains unspoken. But this moment of crisis is also a moment of invitation. The return of the angels is not in the sky, it is in the integration of the self. Their wings are metaphors, their flames are thresholds, their names are keys. In trauma, call Raphael to breathe and realign. In despair, call Gabriel to remember what is sacred. In confusion, call Uriel to anchor in light. In fear, call Michael to choose courage over control. This is the architecture of the sacred human. These are not distant deities. They are the limbs of your spiritual anatomy, and to invoke them is to rebuild the temple, not in stone, but in soul. The four archangels are not merely figures of myth. They are mirrors. They reflect what is divine in you: your will, your wisdom, your compassion, your clarity. When rightly understood, they are not messengers from heaven. They are messages written in your being, waiting to be read. Not only energies, but blueprints. Not guardians, but guides. The sacred architecture is already within you. To approach them is not an act of summoning, it is an act of remembering. The fourfold soul waiting to become whole. Michael stands at your fire. Gabriel flows through your heart. Raphael breathes in your mind. Uriel watches from your bones. And when you know their names, not just their sounds, but their meanings, you do not summon them. You become them. You become the temple. You become the light within it. And in that moment, the angels no longer descend. They awaken from within.